Today we're going to be making these macarons, and these gorgeous little cake type projects, and you can display them in a bowl. You can put them on a lovely summer garland for sort of summer bunting, all sorts of things you can do. You can attach them to a wreath, but they're really easy, really fast, and a lot of fun to make. So we'll just get on. So I've just got a 38 standard needle here. That's all you need. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab hold of this core wool, and I'm just going to pull everything towards the middle. And I'm just going to felt that a few times just so it holds. And this will all be underneath, and it will also be covered, so you're not going to see this. And this is such an easy project. It's really fast to do. Once you've done one and you've got the technique, then you can sort of steam ahead and make as many as you want. And also you can either do piped sort of cream here, or just keep it simple with a nice, just simple strip of wool felt around the sides. I use wool top for that because I like to pull it really tight and then it doesn't break. But carded wool is just as good. You've just got to hold it a bit closer. And can you see how I'm just felting around these sides now, just to flatten those sides, because we want that nice flat edge. To be over felted, it wants to be quite plump and springy. And as I said, remember, we're going to be covering it with our wool batting. I use batting over the top of this because it shows less needle marks, and it's really good for wrapping soft sculpture type projects. And make sure as well that we've not flattened that middle, we've not pushed that middle in, because we want it nice and full. You see, it looks really misshapen, but it won't matter, because once that batting is covering it, you won't see any of that. So there you go. That's your basic shape for your macaron. So I'm just going to pop that piece in, and then I'm going to pull this over to the centre, and I'm just going to gently felt that in a few times. And then I've got a little bit too much here. So this is the other good thing about using a carded bat, is you can pull it off quite easily, because the fibres are much shorter than they are with wool tops. Wool tops will work absolutely fine. It just takes a little bit longer, a bit more working, and more prone to showing the needle marks. So can you see how I'm just folding that over? See how that's coming over? And then what's happening is it's really felting nicely around there. And if you've got gaps like I have there, that's fine. We'll cover those with any little bits of batting. You're using your needle all the time just to pull that wool in to secure it. You don't want any baggy bits. But what you want to be doing is doing all the felting in the centre where you're pulling all the wool in together. Using your fingers to go around, tidy that up, and then use your needle as well. That's why I like to use a 38, because as you can see, it's not very bendy. So you can actually use it as a really good tool just for pulling that wool in. If you're using a 40, which is great for surface detail, and I use that a lot as well, you'll find that it's much more bendy and more prone to breaking. So as you can see, right, I've got a bald patch there, which we don't want. So just take some of that wool that you've pulled off, just take that, wrap it round, and do exactly the same as you have been doing. Same technique. Just pull it gently round, go around the other side. And you see how, because these fibres are shorter and more lofty, you're really not seeing any needle marks. And if there are any, you can just, again, use that needle just to tease that wool over and get rid of them. And if you just want to relax and chill out, and if the weather's nice, you can sit in the garden. That's the great thing about needle felting. It's so portable. And again, as with, if you watch the other video tutorials, I did the spring garlands with all the felted balls. You can just use up any scraps of wool because you don't need a lot. So there we go. So we've got a nice shape there. Just tease that a bit over. So what I'm going to do now is I've got some wool top here. This is a bright white, but you could use, I think I've got, let's have a look. So this is more of a creamy, sort of peachy colour, so you could use that. And then this is a natural. In fact, I'll use the natural because that's more of a creamy colour. So this is a natural. This is a Jacob top. And you're just going to pull a little bit off. And when you pull on wool tops, unlike the carded wool, which is much shorter fibres, it will pull apart, the wool tops are much more difficult. The wool just grabs hold of itself and tightens up. That's because these are all brushed in the same direction, whereas the batting or carded wool is actually brushed in lots of different directions. So just take the end and just felt in. You see what I'm doing there? Just felt in that end. You want it, push it quite a way in because you want that to be really nice and secure because we're going to be pulling on that. And as we pull on it, what you'll see is you can twist it just to strengthen it a little bit more. And as you pull it, you can see how that is making that indentation into that soft outer layer. So you've got that nice sort of cakey macaron look. And just keep pulling that around. And if you get about halfway, and you can just give it a few pokes with a needle just to secure it there. So you can then let it go. And then if you want to, you can keep twisting it just to keep a nice line as you go around. Turning and turning until you get to the other end. And then if you just pull your fingers apart and just pull that away, and then just continue to wrap around until you get to the end. You can trim it, but the ends, once you've cut the end, you've damaged the fibres. They're cut so that then they don't interlock as well. Felt in those sides where they're a little bit too big. That's better. And then if you squish it down, use your hand, you squish it down. You get those macarons where they just sort of fall over the cream that's in the middle, and do that with them. That's your basic macaron. But what you can also do is they have this sort of baked effect around here. And this is where you want to show your needle marks. So if you go around and you really go at it, just show you on what I've done here. Can you see there? You really go at it, then it gives it that nice sort of baked look. You can keep them as is, that's it, that's absolutely fine. But I quite like this. It just adds a bit more realism to them. So can you see how that is creating that nice baked effect where the macaron, where it sort of pulls away as it's baking. So there we go. And can you see that? You've got that nice baked edge, and then you can go around and do the same on the other side. There we have it. A really easy project to make gorgeous, colourful little macarons. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.